Howdy motherfuckers, and welcome back to MCubed. My name is Harris, I'm your host, and today we are going to do another MCubed-Grade review about episode 2 of Netflix's The Sandman. In an MCubed-Grade, we go over 10 tenets where we give a film or an episode of TV an overall grade based off of how good each tenet is. Now, the 10 tenets that we have are production design, score and soundtrack, sound, editing, effects, both visual and practical, cinematography, casting, acting, writing, and finally, direction. So, what did I think of the production design on Sandman episode 2? If you remember in the first episode, I didn't fully love it. That's the only thing, or one of the very few things, that I wasn't fully convinced of. Now, this go around, I think our scope and scale increased, and the production design around that also did. I think they probably got their feet under them from the first episode, and I would say episode 2 has a full 1 out of 1. Now, what about score and soundtrack? Now, when it comes to score and soundtrack, I might not give it a full 1 this time. It's not bad by any means. I do enjoy it, but I don't know if it's adding to the atmosphere as much as I would like it to. I would really like any kind of added music to really bring you into the element of things. And yeah, it's ominous and it's creepy. It's definitely finding a precise tonality, and it definitely has its own general feel to it, but I don't know if it's 100% there yet, so I'm gonna give it a half out of 1. Now, out of the 2 that we've gone through, we have 1.5 out of 2. What about sound? I actually think that is what really is giving it its vibe, its feel, its tonality in general right now. It's giving it the slightly ominous thing. It's not necessarily the music that's been added to it, but it's the noises and the creaks and the pecking of the ravens on the glass and all these different little minor things, but I think it really is adding to the series as a whole, and it makes it a lot more interesting. I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 1 there, and that brings us to 2.5 out of 3. Not too shabby. Editing in this episode, fantastic. Not only does the sound really put you into this world, but the editing allows you to kind of follow along the mind of Morpheus. I really enjoy that. It allows you to process things more so than just the writing or the direction or even the acting might do. I think the editor has really done a good job here of pacing us and helping us follow along the thought process of Morpheus here. I enjoy it a lot. I think that I gave that a full 1, so that makes that 3.5 out of 4. Now, how about the effects? There's both practical and visual, so I would give both a retrospective half point, I guess is how I would do it with this grading system. I like it. Once again, I believe that the effects, whether practical or visual, are currently adding to, and they're not detracting from the story. I don't think anything's distracting. I don't think any of them are subpar. I think everything that we've been shown so far has really helped us envelop this world, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. That is, I believe, a 4.5 out of 5, since I'm giving that a full 1. And that brings us to cinematography. I believe I gave the first episode a 0.5 out of 1. If we're grading it off of cinematography, I don't know if it deserved a full 1, where episode 2 most definitely did. I think this has developed that scope a little further. We're seeing cool visual things happen with where Sandman is going, or Morpheus, Dream the Elder, whatever his name is. I'm still getting used to it. I like that he has to go in these dreams to go pick things up. I think that's interesting, especially the way each of them are shot. There are practical and visual elements to how Dream goes through these different dreams. It's great. I think this is where we're gonna really see the world expand and see the love and the heart put into this series behind the camera. I think we're still at 5.5 out of 6. That's not too bad at all. That's not too bad. So that brings us to our 7th tenet, which is casting. Now, there wasn't much added casting, I guess, to this episode. There was a little bit, of course, and I think every little bit that we got was fantastic. David Thewlis is John Burgess at the very end. Mwah! Give us more. Not only was Roderick Burgess portrayed by Charles Dance, David Thewlis, I think, would be a perfect son for him in a film. I've just never thought of that, and I applaud the casting people for doing that. And I'm thoroughly enjoying Tom Sturridge as Dream the Endless Morpheus. I really love Boyd Holbrook and everything he does as well, and we haven't gotten much of him in here as Corinthian yet, but I look forward to much more. I think we are at 6.5 out of 7. That brings us to our 8th tenet, which is acting. It deserves a full 1. Everything that has been acted in this series so far, particularly this episode, has been wonderful. I think Tom Sturridge, going right back to him, is fantastic acting so far. Him as the Sandman is very believable, and his caution and movements and moments is great because you can see the gears ticking in his head, but you also see the gears ticking in his heart in a weird way, I guess. I'm talking about the whole Gregory thing with Cain and Abel, the giving of the egg after he gets the egg from where he found the snake, back to Cain and Abel, where they can have Irving, Goldie, whatever the gargoyle's name is going to be. That is helping us follow him as a character, and I love the acting so far. It's fantastic. And I'm gonna go ahead and give it a full 1 out of 1. So that keeps us at 7.5 out of 8, which is damn good. Our 9th tenet is the writing. Would the actors be doing nearly as good as they are without the writing being as good as it is? Not at all. I have not read the source material, but I can only assume it's fantastic. I adore Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman does great because I know he does help alongside. He's done really well with what he's put forward. I'm very much looking forward to more. So that's going to give us a 1 out of 1 for writing. Our 10th tenet is direction. I don't know exactly where all this is going, but I think I can follow it, obviously, because the direction is very clear and precise with what it wants to do. Johanna Constantine having the sand. I know the Fates also are an interesting thread because they mention past things with Sandman, which I don't know if that's just a future thread for maybe another series or something, or if that's something that could be addressed later on, maybe a sibling or something. Also, I like that he says to Lucien, his siblings definitely knew where he was and they chose not to help him over this 100-year period, which is great direction. It shows you there's going to be conflict, and I'm pumped to see it. I'm gonna have to give the direction a full 1 out of 1. That brings us to our overall score, which is a 9.5 out of 10. I am a real big fan of it so far. Are you? Let me know in the comments. We get to go through a new series that I'm completely fresh with, and I think a lot of people are completely fresh with as well, and so far so good. If you would like to support our channel, it would really help us out if you left a like, a comment, if you subscribed, hit that notification bell, and I hope you have a fantastic day.